1 second. All right, we are live. It's 5:40 p.m.
Charlie, we have quorum.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much. All right. Charles G. present, David Rowley present, Joe Stephen Graves present, Keith Alexander present, and Sam Wells present.
We have your packets here, that's with the agenda on the thing, and then we give the roll call, public comments, do we have any?
Nothing was moved and nobody's present tonight.
Review and approval of minutes, the October 21st, 2025 minutes, which is tab 3. Do I have a motion? I'll move. Second?
Second.
Okay, any additions, corrections, changes to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, minutes accepted. Executive Director's report,
There's-
tab 4.
Don't open a tab 4 because we're really busy closing $90 million projects. So I'm going to give you a verbal executive director's report for this month here. But I'll go through the current stats here at the Land Bank. We have 253 properties owned. That's up because we had those City of Albany lots acquired for the South End project. There's also the lots from Habitat for Humanity that aren't counted in there yet. The reason they aren't is we just haven't seen the deed recorded. So our practice is once the deed is recorded, we reflect those numbers. But one thing I want to point out for you is you see for sale 67 lots. What you don't see is for sale buildings because we are out of buildings to sell. Every building we have is part of a co-development project or is planned for one of our own projects. So we're in a unique space. I don't know if the Land Bank has never had buildings before, but 67 lots we're still working through. Through the month of November, we received 6 applications. Staff is still working on processing those. If you remember, we gave ourselves a little bit more time to do our due diligence on these. If we have them ready for you between the deadline and the committee meetings, we present them to you. But if not, we have them to you the next month. We have 33 lots that are in sale pending. That's a large number because we have in Woodville that cluster of lots that has to close. And they're doing the title search on those to wrap that up. And our co-development projects between the South End, Clinton Avenue, and Ontario Street, we have 93 properties committed to those. 41 projects, including Flip the Block, account for our Land Bank projects category. We still have 6 that are hanging out there with title problems, and we have 7 properties that are not available, but they have an option agreement. And so we have 41 properties that are
Under something happening.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that includes the Flip the Block properties, but it also includes the properties that we have in the LBI 2 program, and then the other ones that we've applied additional funds for. So we're just waiting for those. Just to give you a perspective, we started giving this number to you before. I don't think you've ever gotten this before, but on the average, we've owned our properties for 2,400 days, 6.6 years. So there's a motivation to get that number reduced.
Down,
So
yeah.
I know that Joe's concerned about maintenance and those costs. I mean, we've carried properties for a long time, so we're trying to knock those down. What ends up happening is that number seems to creep up on us because as we sell them, we still have the most challenging properties. So don't necessarily take it the wrong way if you see that number creep up, but it's a reflection of we just have some properties that are not moving very quickly. And there's going to be properties that are going to sit in the land bank's inventory for a very long time because there is really nothing to be done with them. We're still trying to figure out ways to leverage them. They're assets of some sort, but nobody's cracked the code on how to do that. Activity report staff's been very busy getting things done. You can see they've done a great job in getting us ready for the holidays here in the office, but we got the annual report wrapped up. Those were mailed out. We should have copies for everybody. We'll get one before you leave, a copy of the annual report because we didn't mail them to the board, so we'll give you a copy, but it's up there. It's a little bit of a different look than in the past. We called it our 2024 annual impact report. With some of the staffing changes, a little more. It took us a little longer to get that out, but we're already starting to think about the 2025 annual impact report. So we'll have that out a lot faster this year. A couple of grant programs that we've applied for: the Land Bank Initiative Property Services Grant. Jason did a a great job getting that together, and the home ownership initiative programs allows us to get all those buildings and program for rehab and reuses along the way. And then our development clusters are moving along. So any questions on things that we're working on? I'm trying to download it all. So
No, please.
How many of the lots are buildable? Are all of them buildable?
that's what the next thing on my list is, to go through those lots and do an analysis as to what is a buildable lot based on dimensional standards. I have some of the GIS skills to handle that, but I think I'm going to probably approach UAlbany to see if there's some students there that can take our data and maybe do a student project, or maybe there's a chance to get credit or a class project to be able to analyze those so we can see what we have is actually buildable.
Happily, most lots in Albany are narrowest are 20 feet. You have 22, 25. So we know we can put a 14-foot house on a 20-foot lot, that's for sure. And we can put a 2-family house on a 30-foot lot. The other question is, how level is it? How much site work? Sheridan Avenue was picked because of the neighborhood, but it also was not an ideal lot because it had to go down in the back, which meant more foundation, more fill. So when these students go through the thing, they'll see, is it flat? You know, like that, because the idea would be build slabs, you know, and cluster. We're looking at the clusters that are near any of our developments and say, let's do 5 slabs and then contract that out and maybe apply for the money from the state and then bundle it, you know. I think that they don't have a threshold, do they? They let small developers come in, right? You don't need 100 units to apply from the state.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, if you had 5 houses, that's, you know, $1 million, right? $200,000.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that would be a way forward with the scatter site lots.
So we have a little bit of work to do to sort out what we have, and now that we don't have buildings to worry about marketing, we can shift our attention to how we market those lots and letting people know what's buildable and what's not.
For next month, can we get a spreadsheet of those properties and how many days though? Like which ones are the worst of the worst?
Yeah, we can do that.
It's easier for me to see it every month and realize that's a problem and we gotta focus on that problem.
Mhm.
And then for any staff, really, with Jason, if you're doing grants, I'd love to get a paragraph or so on the actual application, what it's for.
Mhm.
Just the timing.
Great. Spoken like someone who used to work for Carl.
I know what I got myself into after the fact, so. now.
Okay, anything else?
I'm just making my notes here. All right. Walk you through a little bit of what's happening in terms of our key performance indicators. And these are a little small, so I'm gonna click over here to our Monday dashboard. This is what we're using when we offboard e-property, and so there are some things that we're able to do. But walk through some of these. Our first 4 KPIs are around acquisitions, property sales, donations, and demolitions. You can see here in November, that's the 17 properties that came in from the city of Albany. So it's going to be a little bit of a blip on the screen when it comes to KPIs here, but it's been relatively slow. No acquisitions coming in, waiting to find out the outcome of the county's auction. We have some sales here, but we also have those 33 lingering sales pending out there. So, but it matches up to what you've seen in terms of applications before the board. So that's what's happened there.
Sean, what's the process of finding out what properties are coming from the county after their auctions? Like, are you in consistent communication with someone else to say, we think you'll be getting such and such?
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations along the way. I would say the last one was probably about a month before the auction, when we took a look at, we've seen lists of properties. The thing that we're waiting for the county to figure out is like what their risk tolerance is on this equity issue. And I think that the safest way for them to proceed is to go through the auction process and then through 2 successive auctions not be able to sell it for what they need to get for it. I understand there was no reserve price on these properties, and that in some ways makes some sense because if they can get something out of it, that's more than they're gonna get out of it from us because they're gonna transfer it to us for $1. So but we'll see, we have to see what closes along the way and then what ends up back in another auction cycle. What I think we're going to see are more and more lots because where there was a demolition with a demolition bill put on the tax bill, that's where we see the equity is out of whack. And so we're waiting for them to figure out what lots they feel comfortable with transferring to us if they don't have to go plans for. Office visits been a little slower as the colder weather has come along. Just had 3 people pop in looking for information. Still a lot of activity online. I can talk about that next in terms of our website views, any property views. This is new data you haven't seen before, but the blue bar are visitors to our website. The yellow bars are visitors to our e-property map. It's a little weird. I'm not sure how people have bookmarked this or are bypassing and not coming into our website over e-property. So I'm not sure where that's coming from or if that's some bots crawling the web for information. It's also out there now that I'm not sure. I feel confident that 13,000 viewers went to that website, but that's what the data is telling me.
Can you show us what the website looks like?
Those unique clicks.
Those are just web visits, so I don't believe they're unique clicks. Let's go here.
I think you have a tab open in that e-property plus.
Yeah, that's the staff side. That's the back side. So this is not the website, but this is where you end up if you're looking for property. This is what our currently it looks like. We're only going to keep this system.
It's Joe's favorite house.
Town Alexander?
No.
Oh, for sure. So we'll only have this for about another month, and then we'll transition this into our website. It's a good time to do it because we don't have a lot of buildings in inventory. But you can see even these ones in process to board, not available. This is banked right now because we have a plan for it, so we need to drop these 2 off. And then this is our 79 Elizabeth Street. So I lied and I said we only have 1 property. No, we are selling this one, but we know where it is in the process.
Do you have a buyer for that one?
We have applicants in it. Shelby, do you know about how many?
We have 1 applicant that's complete and then 2, one of them was ineligible and then 1 is incomplete.
The ineligible one, and income, was it too much?
Yeah, the income.
Was too high.
Yeah.
So, but we're getting good feedback from it. I was even on the South End Community Collaborative call, talking about the need for units with more bedrooms. And so it seems that we're in the right area with this one, with the number of bedrooms we put in and the sizes.
How can we advertise that house? And I'll just finish my thought here because I'm thinking that Shelby or someone could reach out to Albany Housing Partnership,
Affordable Housing Partnership?
Affordable Housing Partnership, Christina Sutherland, is that? And because I'm sure that they get people coming in looking for houses that may be the income eligibility, so maybe we can send them this so they can share with someone who may be eligible.
Well, they have to complete their home buyer
Right.
education course and
Right.
refer them down there for
Right.
that. So there's a lot of.
Right, but it gives us more exposure for this house in the market that they would actually be
Yeah.
suited for.
I
Yeah.
found out that with the Restorative Housing Justice Fund down payment program that they administer for our foundations, they said now realtors are calling them with customers because they know that money's available. So there's an example of get some realtors interested in our building.
But we'll press that a little bit more.
I was gonna say, we posted it on the New York State MLS also, so it's on Zillow, Realtor.com, all of that.
Yeah.
And then we did send out emails to our partners informing them that we have this property on the market for first-time home buyers.
Yeah. I think any place we have a chance to talk about this property, we do.
And we sent an email to Affordable Housing Partnership to the flyer. To a couple of different organizations and like neighborhood associations.
A lot of the cities, I made sure a lot of the cities outreach staff had copies of the flyer and have been spreading it too.
And the price hasn't deterred anybody. I think actually the issue was that we had somebody who was interested who was maybe too much. they can figure out a couple more people to move into their household together, I might fix it, but, it's, trying to weed through that. So again, we price this affordably for a family of 4 based on the 3 bedrooms. All right. And then the last piece, just again, when you see how inventory has been moving here, this is the properties that have come in and out in November, but that increases just related to that. And so we'll see that number change pretty soon when a bunch of those South End properties, all the South End properties come out, that's 65 properties. And we'll pull that in inventory, and that'll be up to the developer. Any questions on those KPI pieces? I wanted to show you a little bit more about what's happened on 59 Judson Street. So July 2024, this is a picture I took, and this is after I think Charlie and I met and talked about it. Charlie made the right observation that we had a sign on the front of this building that was in bad repair, just like the porch. And I think that we were trying to program that for something, but Lynette, wanted to move this along. And we took a look back and we realized we had the zombie property money from Lark Street. We don't have anywhere else to put it to use right now, and so it was probably be better invested in the neighborhood than sitting in our bank. And so Lynette reached out to WP&T and another 1 or 2 contractors.
Yeah, 3 others.
3 others for quotes to take down the porch and replace it. And so as of, that picture was, is that today or yesterday? The days are all, I think it was yesterday's picture. I went to go get a picture of the porch, but you'll see on the right side, they're not working on their property. And so this has been striking me a lot lately, because while I don't have the data and the evidence to back it up yet, and it's simply observational, it appears that when we start working on property, other people start working on property. And those of you that are, Joe, you probably know Cahoes and Sam and Albany, when somebody's doing something, sometimes the neighbors are doing something too. So there's the value in that. I've got a blog post about this to talk about and to build off of what we've all talked about, I think, of the executive committee and the board, about making sure that people know what's happening here. So I'd like to, I think we need to get the content in place on our website to direct people to. The next step is to put a sign here to let people know what's happening with the property and to direct them back to our website so they can read about it. Not only about the property, but also to understand our approach behind this, because it does result in increases, and there's research out there to support that. So I took I put my professor hat on as I wrote that piece, and I did pull a couple of sources in to talk about how investment in one property has ripple effects.
And this is an opportunity to look at the graphics on our sign and figure out that we should have a new sign on our property, right? Because it's for sale, this house is for sale.
That one's not, no, that's one of the properties we have programmed for a full rehab.
Oh, okay, so we don't need.
Yeah.
Well, you could just say another project by ACLV. or
Right.
Something.
Yep.
Something nice, different sign than what we got. To make, like you say, things are changing, right?
Now that we're through some of the other things that have been pressing, South End closing, being one of them, I have been working, as I've got some free time, on an RFP for the marketing services, so we can take a look at our logo and our brand and make sure we're communicating the right things to people about what we're doing. So
I'd love to send this or something similar over to city's corporation council staff too, just to show, they've worked pretty hard. We've been trying for a couple years now to get a settlement out of some banks to help fund stuff like this.
Yeah.
Be a nice little,
Right.
give them a pat on the back and look what your hard work's helped to fund. So
yeah,
when you guys have something together, or even just this slide, I'd love to support it onto them, and, as a way to thank them for their work too.
and you raised something that is now clicking in my mind, is that on that blog post, before we publish that, we should acknowledge the work that was done, cooperatively and collaboratively, that allowed them to get this settlement, but allowed us not to just focus on that one thing, but to, in the meantime, go somewhere else and still make improvements. So we didn't talk about the settlement piece in there, partly because I didn't know if we wanted to talk too much about the settlement.
No, go ahead.
All right.
That's the city struggles to get its own positive news out the door sometimes, so please do for
Happens
us.
to the car houses on First Street.
Do our marking.
What's that?
Do our marking.
No, because those are demolitions, so we're working on the permitting for the demolitions. Yeah.
I'm glad to see the neighbors are working on their house. Is that at all a byproduct of our work in terms of it needing to be redone?
Well, Lynette, do you wanna,
Yeah, no, it's actually, they weren't doing anything until we actually repaired the porch. And WPNT was able to do it without negatively impacting their side of the porch, or like the rooftop side there. But this is strictly them just, doing the work, because now our property looks so much better. So, and we saw that,
Owner occupant or investor?
I think it's an owner occupant, I believe.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
Did they hire WPNT too, or?
I don't know, I was curious about that, I was
Yeah.
gonna reach out to them and ask, because they really do good
It'd be
work.
interesting to find out, be friends with them and say, so how did you do this? Did they get a home equity loan, did a lender support them? No, we had to scrape and borrow because our bank wouldn't give us any money, we wanted, it'd be nice to get the backstory, because that's what this investment is, where lenders won't support improvements in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
And so it would be fun to, if it's an owner occupant, to try to be friends with and ask them how they did that.
and this is exactly, what you're seeing here is our hope with the property services grant from the state, from HCR, is that as we're doing something, neighbors can approach us and say, well, how do I improve my property? And say, well, good news, we can help you with that too, as well. And so this, this neighbor is getting on top of it, but hopefully we get that grant award, and we could potentially even knock on the door and say,
That's right.
we're working on this house here, I might have some ways to help you as well. So, I don't know, we'll have to find out if WPNT is working on it. I did stop and look at how they were fastening the roof to the supports, and it was slightly different, so that was maybe hinting to me it's a different contractor involved, but that's all right, so. South End project, like I said, today was a big one, so we'll see our 65 properties plus 17 from the city, plus the Habitat properties will come in and then out of inventory, so that one's moving along. I did remind them today that we have to solve the home ownership part of the equation. The Habitat's involved, verbally wants to get their hands on the home ownership portion of this project. But we just said to the development team, like, you have to consider, we went through a procurement process, and we just can't abandon this and then just have you, and then just turn around and give it to Habitat. You'll need to come together and work that out for us. So they're going to respond back to us, but it's after the 21st. I think the 21st is when money starts and hitting bank accounts and the closing. So we want a little bit of time there. So that's step in the right direction. We'll have a project sign there. Initially, they were just going to do the IDA's project sign, but I said, listen, we have to celebrate everybody who's been involved with this. The city's IDA will have the city's logo on it. I said, but you have to, the county's been a key partner in this, because it's the county who foreclosed on the properties that allowed this to move ahead, and Habitat too, because Habitat contributed some as well. And so they'll have a project sign that includes all of those other partners as well. No new updates on the Ontario and West Street projects. We won't hear anything until there's decisions made on the low-income housing tax credit application at 9% that went in September. So we're sort of in a holding pattern there. But I will say, I'll try to remember to get a picture on here next month. Across the street, the Ontario and Bradford Street properties that were also drawing a lot of time and attention away from us. And then Pak Chu took those pieces on. He's already, that Bradford Street property's already been updated on the exterior. I think they have more interior work, and he'll move to the 135 Ontario Street building next. So good movement in that part of the city. Henry Johnson Boulevard, Clinton Avenue cluster. I did hear from Home Leasing today, introducing me to a couple of new folks on their team. They have somebody who's interested in the project. They're going through the due diligence phase right now. The only thing that may come to be, and we might have to talk about this down the road, is the brownfield condition that exists there, because it was cleaned up to a commercial standard, but the DEC has an easement on there that doesn't allow for residential development without additional mitigation. And so there will be some additional mitigation costs that come in there. It's possible that that's going to need to be taken care of on the front end. We may be asked to be a partner to that cleanup.
We're talking about that lot that's right there,
Yeah,
where we had to demolish the building with the barrel.
the one in front of it, the one that's on Henry Johnson Boulevard. Those are the ones where the
Yeah.
monitoring wells are. That's where the cleanup was done. So
Is it? We talked about these the last time. We didn't know if it was title or just a regulatory hurdle. It seems like both.
well, it's the way DC handles brownfields for us is that we handle for easements through an environmental easement. So on this one, the easement allows for development, but does not allow for residential construction. And so in order to do that, we have to go through additional steps of cleanup, and the project has to go through additional steps to get DEC to change that easement to allow for residential use.
Didn't home leasing know that when they, right?
I don't know. That's before my time. I would think they would have doing their due diligence. Those are the city of all. Those were the ACDA's properties. I want to say the city of Albany, it's the ACDA's properties, but the same. Well, but they didn't cause it. I mean, that was something that they came into possession of and did a cleanup on. So.
Well, in a way, I'm glad they didn't walk away, because now they're deep enough to want to try to get it to the finish line with someone, so that's good.
Yeah.
The ownership and responsibility for it, which is what we want.
Yeah, and if they can't pull it off, they have enough cost into, have sunk into this, they're gonna wanna try to recover something, something out of it, so. That's where that stands, I don't think anything.
I'm sorry,
happens
keep going back, because I want to make
until-
sure I understand what you're talking about. We're talking about the buildings behind the Snug building,
Behind the,
on Henry Johnson
Other
Boulevard,
side of the street.
where the lot is.
It's the corner, it's across from the library, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Corner of Henry
Okay.
Johnson and First.
that's, okay,
Yeah,
that's where I
that
was.
a
Yes.
commercial
Okay.
site. I
Okay.
remember it, I'm old enough to remember that, so I know. that it is a
Okay, so
commercial
that's where I
site.
that was a dry cleaner, I thought it was
It's been a vacant lot as long as I've been
It's been a
alive.
lot
so-
Yeah. Same.
I thought it was a dry cleaner.
I know, that was somewhere else, I think it was.
A gas station,
Well,
really?
I know that further down Henry Johnson, or more into the city going
That
towards
makes
Central
that makes more
Avenue,
sense to me.
there is an old gas
The way,
station.
Yeah,
the way the
With the
curb,
traffic flow?
there's curb cuts there, gas station makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the curb cuts that are present on the site,
Stewards will not have that.
it wasn't, I guarantee you wasn't Stewart's.
No.
Right.
Because they got a site, 2 blocks
Right.
down.
A small one pump or something.
Do we have the actual easement language?
I have it somewhere, yeah.
Can you send it? I'm just interested to see what they put on the property. So I've seen one before from the DEC for a gas station in Cohoes, but that was a historic one, very old, so they pretty much waived it for commercial development, so I'm
Yeah.
interested if it's just residential.
I've read it before, and it says it's, there was a restriction against residential development.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was because that's how the state advised that project to proceed back in that time, because they didn't anticipate that there would be any residential development. Because they saw Henry Johnson Boulevard as a place where people would live, but we need lots of housing. So that's going to help us. Flip the block, we recently, maybe a week ago, we met with Fred, who's our consultant on this. Environmental reviews underway for the demolition sites. He asked about the houses that have the tar paper on them. That's part of those. We've stabilized to make them weather tight. The plan is to get those demolitions done. Talking with Fred in terms of timing, we'd like to get that done early 2026 before the good weather comes, because we can probably take advantage of people not being terribly busy to get those down. We're going to meet with TAP in the weeks ahead to review their available plans based on the lot sizes that were recommended by Fred. So when Fred took a look at the site and mapped out based on lot sizes, he knew what was in TAP's inventory of designs to plug in here. So while we thought, we have a couple of designs to use, the small format house, the from 360 Sheridan, as well as the homes that Charlie has experience with. Depending on the lot and what we can build, we may use some other designs as well. And then we're revising the HCR funding application to move that ahead. So it's a lot of pieces up in the air. I think everybody in the office has some sort of hand on this somewhere along the way, between the environmental reviews with the state, demolition permitting, funding. So it's been good to have a team working on this.
Which ones are the twos and which ones are the ones here?
The ones are the dark blue, solid blue, and the twos are the oranges here. This is a demolition here that we have to take down, and I believe this is a demo, and here is a demo.
And those, the hash mark things are the habitat ones in purple.
Purple, yeah, the outline lots are not within the project, but just to let you know, yeah, Habitat owns these. This is a swap, actually. It's blue for us, but that's Habitat's because we swap.
Well, the point is they're gonna put some owner occupied housing there, which is
Yep.
good.
Red are county-owned, orange are city-owned, and then blue are other land bank properties in the area. So we still have some others. Most of these are lots, just a couple of houses, but again, they've all been programmed out. 360 Sheridan, I want to talk about this one because later on the agenda on new business, we have a resolution relating to this one. This is you're familiar with this project. We're working with Seat Center and Youth Build on this workforce development initiative to build a small house on a small lot with modern setbacks that meet the city's code. This, again, it's a youth workforce development program. Workforce development programs typically take about 3 times as long as a regular process because you're training students, some are graduating, you can bring new ones in. We went over that with the folks in the Seat Center when we were on the site about 2 weeks ago. That there's currently a group going in for OSHA training, or relatively recently completing OSHA training. And there's others that are still finishing up, but it's been a longer process. But again, like I said, it's 3 times as long. We should have had this project done in 2024 by the initial timeline, but for a number of reasons, the kickoff of the project was delayed. Some of that was that foundation issue that had to be resolved. But we put those walls up in August 2024. April 2025, you can see they were working on the second story, getting the trusses up on the roof. And then, like I said, a week or so ago, when we met with Seat Center on the site, you can see got siding on the first floor. You can see the pump jacks on the right side. They had to get pump jacks to be able to do the siding because it's such a tight fit. And I guess every time you have to readjust those pump jacks, it's a process. So it slows them down siding this house. The windows were to be delivered pretty soon. The roof is on. We did not have to modify that roof as initially the city wanted us to go with a flat roof there to look like the building to the right of it. But when you look to the left down the street, you have other peak roofs. And so they were agreeable to allow us to have this variation in design because the flat roof didn't achieve anything other than an appearance, but there was enough mix and variation in the neighborhood to be able to accomplish that. So the students are working along on the framing and the drywall. They do have to bring in
The electrical,
the rough electrical's in. There's no panel in yet, so they've got to get the panel in and then get the utilities connected. We're recording with National Grid to make sure the account can get set up there.
I think it's an all electric house, right?
Yes.
No gas.
And the youth is involved with all that, with the roof and everything?
No, they're with the framing and the roofing and the siding and the windows, yes, and the drywall inside, yes. The electrical, HVAC, the plumbing, that's all being handled by licensed professionals. But you also have to navigate the city's requirements for plumbing license and electrician's license. So that's where they are.
What's the new timeline?
They think they have 3 months of work ahead of them. Lynette and I sort of agree we think it's 6 months ahead of them.
So they're working during this time?
They're working around this time. You have to get that propane heat in there to condition the space. Once they get this, once they get all the windows on and they get this thing sided, hopefully with the electrical coordinated too, so they can start heating, conditioning the space more regularly. Because when we were there, it's not conditioned right now. So we'd like to stabilize that so we can keep the space, sealed up in condition. Not the elements, but
They're not like muddying anything in, they're just putting the drywall up right now until the windows are in, or are they trying to?
they're not even at the drywall yet.
Oh, they're not even after, okay.
This is gonna be a one family.
Single family.
Three bedroom. It's something like 1,200 square feet, because it's 14 by 48. And that's how you get a normal layout for a decent house. It has to fit on a narrow lot.
Longer.
Yeah.
They're trying to, I couldn't picture if it's longer than the house next to it in the back or if it was about the same, but it's definitely a long house. I mean, that's how we're able to.
We act like it's groundbreaking, but they did this during the Revolutionary War in Wilmington and Baltimore and Washington. They're 12-foot wide houses that could sell for millions of dollars in DC and Maryland. It's
Center
unusual.
Square has a number of those still,
Yeah.
here in Albany.
And
Just drive
and
on
this is not a
Dove
tiny house, in the
Right.
sense that a tiny house is like for one person, or, you hear Detroit are talking about a tiny house project, but that doesn't address family housing. We're talking about home ownership for families with kids, and so the tiny house movement doesn't address that. It creates the illusion that they're doing something, but it's not helping the need of people in the neighborhood to get a house.
Yeah, it's not a tiny house, but when I was waiting to fly home from Dallas, back in October, I took a ride up north of Dallas to look at real tiny houses.
Yes.
And then real small format houses. So this is more like a small format house where you might have a young family or a young couple living in.
Those are as a starter home, right?
Yes, a starter home. Remember those? You don't just move into a.
Yeah.
Given that we're specking out other properties right now for flip and block with potentially this model, what are we budgeting for cost? Are we assuming the full cost here, or are there lessons learned that we're going to apply?
We're not planning to do this with Flip the Block. Flip the Block, we're not gonna use that as a workforce development model.
No, but more in the sense of just that building, not the workforce development aspect, but like.
A starter home.
52,
That you're talking about?
300 to build.
To build, yeah, and that's discounting the labor, but there's also, additional time in there, but with the change orders, because there's a big.
If we had it contracted out, forget you would build. If we
Yeah.
just said, here, contractor, give me a price to build that house.
Yeah, I think 250, I don't think
And you get 200,000 from the state, and you sell it for 150. So you actually make money. I don't know whether they'll let you do that, but the numbers work. I don't like the fact that it's a single family, but if it's less than 30 feet, it has to be a single family. 30 feet or more, it can be a two family, and that's what block by block is for.
Yeah. I think we have the room to go up, to 300 on this with some of the state subsidy. So we'll see. We won't know until we start bidding out what the prices are gonna look like. It's just, it's just wild to me because we go to other parts of the state and the prices are just different. We go to Oswego for the land bank conference, and they show us what they're doing. They tell us
And
the
another way to
prices.
look at this is if we have I said 20 feet is the worst case. That's why I told them to design a 14-foot house. That's a 25-foot lot. We could have built a wider house, right? But I wanted to prove that we could build a house that would fit on the worst case scenario. And so this is the worst case. And so when we have something that's a little wider, we can make the house a little wider. There's no reason that everything has to be 14 feet if you have 22, 25, whatever that lot is.
We have these plans we can copy and paste, it's just
We own
how,
them. We own the plans, yeah.
right, but it's just how we approach the bill that we're not gonna do again, but these plans worked, like they're working.
What, you mean the layout itself?
Yeah, like just, was there any,
Yeah, well, I mean, we're welcome to everybody to tweak it and say, how are we gonna do 3 bedrooms a little differently? How about the door out the kitchen to the back? It's not rocket science, you just figure out what the best thing to work.
well, you've been inspecting, are you happy with it?
Yes, I think it is. I was the one that suggested something out the back, because they weren't gonna have a door off the kitchen. I said, come on, you gotta be able to get to your backyard. That's right.
Well, it was a door up the side.
Yeah.
But Charlie's keen eye said, you really need to allow that on deck to be off the back. And with that slope off the back, it gave a little bit more of more outdoor
This
space.
deck is more user-friendly than just a set of stairs off the side of the house.
Yeah,
Come on.
So I don't know if you're asking is, would we do this again?
Well, I guess there's lessons learned, right? Like the youth build is one aspect of lessons learned, but just the physical
Design
structure.
itself
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
The design is the design, you know, and you tweak it based on cost and simplicity. The way I built my houses, I didn't even need a plan after a while, because the framers would go, oh, that's the house. Boom, like that, you know, 2 days. A house like this would be framed in 2 days.
So, what we have later on the agenda, you know, just to get you caught up, the construction mortgage with home headquarters that the Seed Center has is due at the end of December. Part of this, the land bank back in 2023 passed a resolution to pledge the property as collateral against that mortgage. And then they've already got an extension on this mortgage already, and home headquarters really needs to get the money back into them. About 60% of the work is complete, about 80% of the project is already committed, and then we do have a request into a private foundation to support about 25% of the project. It's really essentially 50% of the gap that we expect to have when we're done.
All gonna
So the
work
Seed
out.
Center is the borrower on this construction loan?
What's that?
The Seed Center is the borrower on
The
this?
Seed Center, yeah, it's a unique arrangement where the Seed Center is
Yeah, I
the
read your email.
borrower, but we pledge this as collateral.
When we put it on the market, do we expect we developing favorite lenders that we would hear people to, or not?
No, they don't have a.
favorite bank. No.
Yeah. What it comes down to is most people will try to work with a conventional lender, and conventional lenders aren't used to land bank models, and so we end up working a lot with home headquarters. I'd have to go back and look how many are not home headquarters where there's a mortgage involved. 157 Homestead, she was working with a bank and is, I think, shifted to. Yeah, and so everybody seems to shift in that direction because just they're not used to it, and they don't like things that they're not used to.
Will there be any income guidelines with this house? Like, are there gonna be any, do we foresee any criteria?
I think we'll apply our typical first-time home buyer, 60% AMI. There's no state monies into this, so we have some flexibility on how we price this, but we'll take the same approach that we'll seek to price this based on the number of bedrooms. This one we may do, 2 or 3 people as affordable, not a 4 family, to help us drive that price back a little bit. And then what we did with Stephanie and Elizabeth is that we list that for $199. But if you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to offer a credit at closing for $10,000. So on paper, that number looks this way, but at closing with that $10,000, with the other restorative justice money, with the other grant programs that come in there, start to bring that price down. We want to be mindful not to artificially depress the price, and because there's an expense, something to own and maintain your home. And so we want to be very mindful not to price it so low that we sort of set somebody up who's not as ready as we really they need to be.
What are we looking at?
What's that?
What are we looking at?
For this? I don't know. In my head, it's 150. We'll do the same thing. We'll look at comps in the area. We'll try to come up with a reasonable price that fits the neighborhood and fits the potential buyers that we can attract. A different approach than just selling for what the market's going to go for.
The other way is you back it in, and you say, what's the PIT, and then what income is necessary to support that, and is that the families that we're trying to help? It's kind of weird, because it's a balancing act. We want to raise the level of the assessed value for the neighborhood, right? Because it's depressed, but we don't want to raise it too far or too fast, because then you're pricing out the very people you're trying to help own houses.
Yeah,
Right, we want to make it accessible to
And then we
the
have to
folks,
worry about an
and also
anti-flip
give them some
clause.
wealth to build, right?
Right, an anti-flip clause, we have to have something in there about flippers to protect the neighborhood.
Yeah, so we're trying to avoid any displacement along the way, but allowing people to start realizing something for their
Well,
home
I
because
mean,
this
I
becomes
used
an
to say,
asset.
your property goes up 5% a year, so you say, okay, this crazy market is more than that. But you would say to a family, you have to live here for 5 years, and if you sell it, you know, it has to be a first-time home buyer. If you sell to another first-time home buyer, you're allowed appreciation of 5% a year. You know, that's some kind of language that you could put in the deed. Right?
Yeah, we haven't gone that path because we waited to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. We're lucky we're not state regulated in at least this particular house, and all our odd lots, you know.
We have to remember what money goes into what, because that drives how we sell this. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, great.
We have the committee summaries in here for this month if you have any questions about those.
You do the 3 tabs.
Want me to set the high notes on all of that? Sure. Executive committee met last Wednesday, went over the financial reports. Probably the thing, if you just look at the financial report, we have an operating deficit, but when we get into some of the things that are coming in, we have some grant payments that are due. We're waiting for the money from the county. We have closings that are happening. So we know where revenue is coming in. It's just that it's right now a timing issue, which tends to be our theme throughout the year. I think that by the end of the year, especially with 360 Sheridan, Charlie and I talked about this briefly. You know, if we're going to take any losses, we're going to take them this year and then start out better next year. But with revenue coming in for the South End project, we actually may not end up in a spot that I don't want to end up in. I think we'll be okay. We still have cash, and it's not a concern there, but it's more of a pride issue there for me. Went over staff performance and recommended raises. That was an executive session because we talked about employment issues. Talked about our KPIs once again, and then also went over the plan for a retreat next year. We're still working through that. We're hearing about a half-a-day retreat, and we met with another facilitator, Shelby. We will need to go back to the first one we talked to and just update her in terms of, you know, how we see the day shaping out. We should maybe modify her approach there. So anything on actions are going to be later in new business, which are Resolution 38 for allowing me to take action on a contract amendment and change orders to get 360 Sheridan Avenue moved along and address that mortgage issue. And then the salary schedule that the executive committee reviewed as well. That's R&D.
I think people should realize that there's 2 steps of.
2 sets of minutes.
Yeah, 2 steps of minutes. So I think you're talking about the December 10th meeting.
I am, yeah.
Don't look at the November one, folks. If you're looking to figure out what you're talking about, look at the December one.
My apologies. Yes, November, since we didn't meet in November, the November summaries are also in there as well. Real estate committee then met after that meeting, went through some enforcement and compliance issues, recommended approval.
Thanks for that one, for the November one.
Yep.
So go look at that. Look at the next one, which was Wednesday, December 10th. That's the one you're talking about?
We went over 793 Livingston Avenue, requesting an extension to their option agreement. Met with the committee and recommended a 6-month conditional extension, provided that they provide us with their pre-development contracts. And then we also want them to get pre-approval for a construction loan to advance the project, because we had some concerns about how they were expecting to finance this. No new acquisitions, no new dispositions. We have a utility easement that needs to happen at 56 and 58 Broad Street, part of the South End project, but there's no action needed by the committee or the board on that. I'll be able to do that under the terms of the development agreement and the resolution that approved that for the South End project. And then Jason briefly talked about the Certified Housing Development Organization certification process that we're seeking to go through. Allows us some additional funds in some of the housing programs. And then the governance committee met. We just had the December meeting minutes here. They met at 4 o'clock. We reviewed a potential candidate for the board. The county legislature has recommended that we review Michelle Lynn Dorsey as a potential candidate. So the group reviewed her resume, discussed her, and committee recommended sending her name to the board for a recommendation. And then we talked about the annual board evaluation. That'll be out in January, the annual confidential board evaluation. I think the only change we're going to make there is just asking how many other boards you might be involved with. And that's other than that, that'll be the standard questions that we had from last year. So those are all the committees.
Did you, take care of the staff and raises and bonuses?
We're getting there. Yep.
Oh,
The executive committee did review the
that's awesome.
the staff performances and considered some scenarios for raises, and so that's in the resolution number 40.
Okay, so we've done the 3 committees. So now we have new business. Consider resolution number 37, authorizing the sale of real property, which is tab 8. What are we telling on tab 8?
34 and 42nd Avenue to applicant 2097 for $35,000 each. This was reviewed back in November, but because we didn't have a form in November, you're seeing this at the December meeting. This was the applicant. Oops, sorry, I don't have the property slides in there. This was one where we did deliberate whether or not we would sell 2 properties to one applicant before. The applicant has a track record of doing development. We talked about the advantages for them to be able to move from one site to the next and be able to get them both done efficiently and effectively.
Okay, so the last page of the resolution.
The attachment, yes.
Yeah, because the first page doesn't say what property it is.
Right, the last page, Schedule
So
A.
you
is
gotta look at the
where we-
last page, which is 38 and 40 Avenue, 2nd Avenue. Development enforcement mortgage and inverter agreement are required. That's what we're voting on?
We will require that. Yes, we're voting to sell 34 and 42nd Avenue to applicant 2097 for $35,000 each. And we will require a development enforcement mortgage and a reverter agreement.
I know when we saw this initially, the applicant bid like 40,000 for one and 35 for the other? I know it's a small change, but. And then I don't remember the conversation. I know staff recommended, I believe, letting him start one and then releasing the second. I don't know where we landed on that.
No, we had ended up doing them, sorry, 2 things at once here.
Yeah, I remember we talked about, the, cost savings that he'd have by mobilizing for both since they're right next to each other.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, we did have a discussion about that. And it's advantageous to him to not have to mobilize twice, his crews to do work on those 2 properties. And he does appear to have the capacity to do both. He's mostly been working out of Troy. He's been pretty, talking quite a lot with city planning staff about these buildings and looking for others as well. So he's been doing a lot of work out in Troy primarily and wants to start doing some in Albany. Is particularly interested in row houses and older homes.
And Joe, your keen memory benefits us again. That is right. It's 35,000 for number 34 and 40,000 for number 40.
take every 5,000 we can get.
I appreciate that. I caught it in the reconciliation process, but rather catch it now than later. So
So everybody look at your thing that you're voting on. It says 35, so you gotta change it to what?
would it change number 34 for 35,000, number 40 for 40,000?
Okay.
You would approve me to sell it at 35, and I just want to go on and sold it for 40.
Didn't we have a situation, I want to say a couple months ago, where we had someone else, another applicant who was looking to purchase multiple buildings at once? And we decided that we were only gonna do one and not multiple to an applicant at a time?
So I think in that situation, I still don't love it, conceptually, but I think in that situation, they weren't co-located houses, one, so they were in different areas. And two, forgetting the guy's income, but it didn't make sense for two different properties. It was like, you could probably do one or the other. This guy at least says 268, so if staff added that, you know, you'd probably do a loan. But yeah, some of the people we get in they just copy and paste every house that's for sale. I'd still love to go to homeowners, but you know, these are next to each other, so I think it makes a little bit more sense for a developer to go in and
And if they go down the road, they could do the other building once they perform on these.
Yeah, I think the other guy was just looking, he also put in that he was gonna be a first-time home buyer for both homes. And live in both, I think
Joe
that's
has
the
answered
other
my
thing.
question. I was just gonna ask what's the difference between the two and what our costs will be, but Joe's memory has been great.
We don't have a
Yeah,
policy
that
on,
sounds right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's more of a practice than a policy about how, whether we sell multiple properties to one applicant at a time. It's been more of a practice evaluating if somebody has the
Capacity, yeah.
I think in this case, is during the vetting process, that he had other work done, he has performed other work favorably in other communities from what we were able to ascertain, that given that these are, but there's two lots between them, so 34, 36, 38, 40, that the ability to go from one to the next was more favorable to getting this done than having to come back around and prove to us that they got there. So I think what we're gonna see too, is that in these building rehabs, it's gonna end up being investors because of the price that comes in. And that's why we're taking on more of the buildings for the homeownership piece. And I think that's probably gonna be the model we're gonna see a lot more of, because we have not had the greatest success selling buildings in rough shape to a first-time home buyer to rehab.
It's hard enough to be a first-time home
It
buyer,
is.
to be a first-time home buyer.
They have
and
to deal with
take on
contractors.
a crazy
and-
rehab like
And have a
these
job.
is tough.
Right.
And have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did this applicant walk the actual property's interior?
Yeah, they have to go and do a showing.
Yes, I showed the properties to him,
And you got a sense that he knows what he's talking about?
absolutely. Yeah, he's an experienced contractor, he has his own crew, and he owns over 70 units in Troy. He's constantly looking for work for his team, so yeah, I'm confident that he can complete both of them.
I trust you.
So he's gonna rehab them and sell them, or is he gonna rent the unit?
Gonna put them in is he add them to his portfolio?
Yes, I believe he's gonna rent them.
Okay, well, do we do it?
We didn't do a motion. I just kept going and didn't give you a chance to do the motion.
Okay, so I have a motion to.
I have another question, sorry.
Oh, I have a motion first.
Yeah.
Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay, now discussion.
Thank
Okay.
Are we requiring any, income limits for the rents no?
No. If there was a case where we had grant funding and we had to do that, we would include that, but, that's a lot of monitoring due to the rent monitoring. So our goal here is to just, let's get these houses out there.
That part of Second Avenue needs it.
They're asking about income.
Do
There's some issues with it.
you have any income you wanna give?
No.
We'll take revenue.
I got Sam for a first and Mark for a second.
Okay. Any further questions on the disposition? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, resolution passed. B, resolution 38, authorizing amendment and change orders for completion of 360 Sheridan Avenue, tab 9, which Sean has already explained in detail. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion or question?
Just- I want to point out number 5 in the resolution, because this is a little bit open-ended to help me get this over. But number 5 is that, explicitly says that I will consult and seek your approval for any changes that fall outside the scope of the resolution. And so we've set some boundaries, and then we cap the cost at 305. And so if we start to find something that falls outside of how we want to approach this, we will bring it back up again.
What resolution number are we on?
38.
I think I'm missing 38.
Tab 9.
I have 39.
38.
Tab 9.
Tab 9.
I have 239. Thank you. No, I'm missing 38, thank you.
Sean, can I ask we're giving you the authorization for the total amount of spend. What's your goal with home headquarters in the meeting tomorrow? I know the meeting didn't happen until after this resolution.
We're not having a meeting.
You're not doing it?
No,
Okay.
no, we're not, because the goal with home headquarters was to see if we could extend this. And then after I got more of this information here and I got my hands on that resolution, I took a step back and said, there's really no reason for us to drag this out with home headquarters and incur more interest in this. Is let's just get out from under it. Let's just keep moving ahead.
Okay.
All in
Any
favor?
motion?
All in
Oh,
favor?
you already did a motion.
All in favor?
I think you're supposed to say all in favor.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, resolution passed. Okay, C, resolution number 39, legislature report, Michelle Leah Dorsey to the Albany County Land Bank. Pursuant to the bylaws.
For the governance committee to review and
Yeah, we
recommend
already
it.
did that, the governance committee, you saw that, and the committee report, so we're all on the same page, we have a motion.
Moved.
Next, okay, any further discussion on, sending the name of Ms. Dorsey to the legislature for their approval?
Is she committed that she can make meetings?
I sure hope so. because we sure need it.
Part of the onboarding will be to let her know
How important.
how important it is for us, you know.
I talked about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, resolution passed. Resolution 40, 2026 salary schedule, tab 11.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, second. Presentation or discussion?
I'm good with just going.
I just want to, I thank everybody, and I had a chance to sit down with the team and let them know what was in this resolution. And so we all appreciate everybody's confidence in us to move forward.
Okay.
And we'll keep stepping on the gas around here.
Okay, any further questions?
Everyone's happy?
Well, yes, it's a very happy.
You don't have to speak up now.
Sean, leave the room.
They gave me a wonderful birthday present at lunch the other day.
Oh, that's nice.
Lots of sugar. I think they're trying to tell me something.
Right.
There weren't any needles in?
Was it these cookies? Because these cookies are amazing.
Really?
I just, these are good.
Take more.
No.
Rated
Why are you trying to give them away?
Shall we miss your birthday?
Huh?
Did you miss your birthday?
No, nobody missed my birthday.
His birthday was last Friday.
Were you tell your family that you were at work or something?
I don't want to talk about it in a public meeting. That's on YouTube. No, I actually, my Friday, I did spend working on my urban policy class at the university. I did not go and watch a movie. I have done that in the past. I'd want to watch a movie, but nothing was really calling to me. So,
But you did open up the can in public, so.
yeah, I got my free Starbucks and I got, it's like 2 freebies for that.
Geez, man, it's free ice cream cones.
Really?
Do they do that on birthdays? I had no idea.
I got 2 free coffees. That's what I got on my birthday.
Stuart, really? On your birthday?
No, no.
We'll take the vote and then I have a
Anyway.
Stewart story for you. Are everybody in favor of this resolution?
Yeah.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay. This is totally irrelevant, but I'm a Stewart's freak, so I wanted to tell you about this.
Do you have a motion to adjourn
Which
first?
Oh, yeah, well, this
In case anybody doesn't want to hear this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
Next meeting's January 14th for the committee, January 20th for the board. And have a happy holiday.
I already made the motion.
Stewart,
Second.
Second, all in favor?